Now, across the UK, people have been prosecuted for breaking social distancing rules during the lockdown. A 39-year-old man in Hastings was given a suspended sentence for coughing in the face of a policeman and saying he wanted to infect the officer and his family. And in Sheffield, a 27-year-old woman was given a similar punishment after she spat at a police officer. Well, we can speak with the National Chair of the Police Federation of England and Wales, John Apter. Very good morning to you. So whilst we've seen a fall in certain types of crimes, we're seeing an emergence of an altogether new form of crime.
We are, and it's nothing is worse than being spat at or coughed in the face by individuals who are saying that they want to infect the officer or their family with this most contagious of viruses. And it's really scary. And I certainly raised this with the Home Secretary very early on in this crisis because we could see this behaviour starting to unfold. And look, police officers and indeed other emergency service workers, it's nothing new, sadly, for these vile, disgusting creatures to be spitting at them. But what's different now is that they are weaponising this virus and, intentionally coughing or spitting at my colleagues, police officers who are trying their best in the most difficult of circumstances. And then to add insult to injury, what we are seeing is a complete difference around the country on how these individuals are being dealt with by the courts. Some are being sent to prison, which is absolutely where they deserve to be, but some are getting nothing more than a slap on the wrist. It sends completely the wrong message.
And so what would your message be to the courts on this?
Well, the Director of Public Prosecutions has been very clear on this, that this is a serious matter. Guidance has been issued to the Crown Prosecution Service. The Home Secretary is on the same page as me. The Shadow Home Secretary is on the same page. We need the courts to show some consistency. I can't put into too much detail the effect that this has on officers and their families, and indeed others who are spat at and coughed at. This is a vile, disgusting act, and this is a deadly virus. We need the courts to be consistent. It must be the absolute exception for people not to go to prison for carrying out this act. It's, people deserve to spend some time behind bars to reflect on their behaviour.
It's a tough time for the police, isn't it? What's the situation with PPE? Of course, we hear a lot about the front line in the health service and whether or not they're getting the right supplies. But of course, being a police officer, you can't, social distance at 2 metres if you're trying to apprehend somebody. So what is the PPE situation?
Look, policing is really difficult at the moment. And I've been a police officer for 27 years. I could never have imagined for one moment that policing would be expected to police in the way that it is at the moment. And thankfully, the vast majority of the public are supporting us and the measures that have been put in place. PPE, it was difficult in the beginning, and we absolutely agree and support the fact that the NHS should be the priority in this. They are dealing with unimaginable situations in hospitals. But my colleagues deserve to have the equipment to keep them and their families safe as well. And it wasn't only the PPE or the lack of it, it was the mixed messages, whether that was from Public Health England or policing itself. And it was really confusing when to wear certain PPE, when not to. I've spoken to many, many officers, and my advice to them is, you're sensible people, you do what you think is right. So the PPE situation is much better, but policing is difficult. And I have to say, Isabel, some aspects of the media have not helped in this, in the way that they have portrayed policing. And look, I accept we haven't always got it right because we are policing unprecedented times, unprecedented times, with a legislation that was pushed through very, very quickly and guidance which for some has been confusing. We haven't always got it right, but the vast majority of the time my colleagues have got it right, but they are still being vilified by some aspects of the media, or the wrong stories are being given. It's really unhelpful, and it causes tension on the ground with my colleagues. We have officers not only being spat at and coughed at, we had an officer in Gwent who was stabbed, got hospitalised. Officers have been bitten, they've been rendered unconscious. It's not a good time for policing at the moment. We are doing our best, but we need the support of the public, and I have to say the media.
But the questions have to be asked, don't they, about where that difficult line is between police officers being overzealous, and there were examples that the media have highlighted that to most people with common sense seem quite ridiculous, and then those that, are doing a fantastic job in putting themselves at risk. There is a fine balance, and I just wonder where you stand on the guidance of those rules, especially as we're heading into another weekend of warm weather. It looks as though we've got the virus under control in terms of the peak. Where is the line?
Well, I think the most important thing to say is the vast majority of the public are absolutely following the guidance. And I was out on patrol last weekend with colleagues in Hampshire, and we had no negative interactions with the public. It was all very positive. In fact, the opposite. They were thanking us for what we were doing. But in some areas, the guidance has been confusing for some of the mixed messages. The more exemptions that you have with the legislation, the more confusing it could be to the public. And my colleagues have had to interpret that. And I go back to the point, I accept we haven't always got it right. And you will have seen chief constables coming out very publicly and apologising where we got it wrong. But that is a tiny percentage. You would think if you were reading some of the newspapers that was the majority of the case. It's not. We are trying our best, but it's really difficult.
OK, National Chair of the Police Federation of England and Wales, John Apter, really good to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.